Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back with another video. Hopefully a more positive one than the one I did yesterday or last night. But anyway, happy Black History Month for those who celebrate it. I know it's in America, in the UK, it's in October. But anywho, I hope to talk about in February my plans to empower African Americans and Black people around the world, including in Africa and all over the world, but especially African Americans, as it's Black History Month in America itself. But yeah, as ever, please let me know what you think in the comments, in the comment section below. And can't think of much else to say for the intro, but here is a list of some of the things I dream to cover and for people to think about and whatnot. So if you have any suggestions or anything else, like anything you want me to cover or any ideas you have at all, please let me know. I ideally, because I had the house to myself for a while, I wanted to do some reaction videos to like Black Exodus or something like that, but I didn't get around to it. But anyway, here goes. So number one, I'd love to look into all possible ways to empower Black people in America and again around the world, the diaspora, but especially in America itself, including in areas like business, finance, and things like that. Number two, I'd love to listen to members of the Black community, including on ideas of how to empower people, especially like women and girls, like in education, training, business, and things like that. Female empowerment and things like that. I'm thinking of because it's Friday as well. Like things like women and even girls in business, like how they can learn about business, STEM, and other areas which could potentially empower them. And I'd love to interview members of the Black community in the future if I had the opportunity. If I had the opportunity, I would love to do so now. Actually, if I had the opportunity now, but I live in the UK, so but yeah, if I could like Zoom them or whatever, or if African Americans were in the UK at the time, I'd love to interview them about their experiences or their ideas and things like that, and especially their ideas on how to empower the African American community and that kind of thing. And perhaps what they can learn from other communities about business, like what they can learn from Asian communities and others about business and things like that. Number three, I'd love to also, on the subject of interviewing, I would love to interview African Americans on like what their, as well as their experiences, or what their ideas are and their opinions on things like what freedom means to them and things like that. So possibly interviewing African Americans from different sort of backgrounds and different political views, like right wing, left wing, African American conservatives. I know I've seen a few videos on YouTube where like they have debates between right and left wing African Americans. So I was thinking something like that. I'd love to interview African Americans on their views on all sorts of things, even if it's on things like LGBTQ or politics generally, or as I say, all sorts of things. Number four, I'd love to see like how African Americans could network together, unite together and support each other, be more united and things like that. I think that would be a good way to be empowered, like supporting each other, not putting each other down, being proud of each other and helping each other, just generally, like basically just being united as much as possible. And why I wish to support them from one community to another as an Anglo-Indian, why I think people of colour, POC as I call us, which I mean by that I mean Black, Asian, mixed race, Native American, Latino, Hispanic, and possibly Jewish, and people sort of supporting each other against white supremacy or whatever, and that kind of thing. Number five, again, how they on that note, it could be like also, before I move on, sorry, to number five, how they could network with like Hispanics, Latinos, Latinx or whatever they call them nowadays, and other communities, disadvantaged communities like my own community, mixed race people or whatnot, just to see how they can empower each other. Number five, hashtag Black Ambition. I'd love to see like again, if I could discuss with African Americans or hear from African Americans, maybe even some commenting in the comment section. So, but also in the future, I'd love to interview them if I can meet up with African Americans or other communities, in this case African Americans, and discuss with them. If I could travel to America in February at some point, like maybe next year or sometime in the future, hopefully, it would be cool to sort of interview African Americans, sometimes one-to-one, sometimes as a group. And even if I couldn't travel, maybe on Zoom or whatnot. But if not, maybe even just in the comments section, like African Americans could talk about their ambitions and things like that. I'd love to support Black farmers. Again, as it's a Friday, going on alliterations like So I'm hoping to cover some ideas on that as well. Number 6, again, as it's a Friday, going on alliterations, I'd love to talk about like people in football. Again, as it's African Americans, perhaps African American footballers, or what I class as proper football, real football. Hope I don't offend anyone out there, any Americans or whatnot, but soccer, as you guys call it, for any Americans out there. I often mention this. I know Italian football. I'm a big fan of Italian football or soccer, as you probably know. Well, you probably know if you've heard my other videos. But for anyone who might just stumble across this, I often say, I would love to see like how many African Americans have played football in Italy. I know there's Weston McKennie. He's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I think there's one or two others perhaps, but I think George Weah's son, if I'm not mistaken, is from America and he plays for Juventus at the moment. But it would be interesting on that note if like I'd love to find out about African Americans who have played football in Italy, or in Europe generally, but especially in Italy, as a fan of Italian football, soccer, as I say, and how many play in Serie A now, and how many could play in the future. So, how, for instance, Italian football, like Serie A, especially, could have academies in African American communities to try and get more African Americans into football, and maybe, as I often say, like work with FIFA and UEFA, because that would be good for football generally, and work with the football authorities in America, and maybe work with the MLS and people involved in football in the Americas itself to look at how to get more African Americans, Caribbeans perhaps, into Serie A, and like as they have academies in those communities, which I hope will be a mutual benefit. And look at how to improve relations and things like that. Number 7, also, I'd love for African Americans to support Celtic, and again, Celtic could have academies for African Americans, especially in America itself, and maybe even invite many to Celtic. And again, it'd be interesting to find out how many African Americans. I think the only one I can think of is Cameron Carter Vickers, who plays for Celtic at the moment. But how many have played for Celtic, and how many could do it in the future? How many do? How many have done? How many do so now? So past, present, and future, basically. Number 8, again, I'd love to see how other POC, like Asians, Native Americans, Latinos, Hispanics, and maybe even members of the Jewish community could look at how they could learn about the African American community and how they can network together in business, acquiring funding, investing in each other, learning from each other, and just generally uniting, supporting each other, and that kind of thing. I think it'd be interesting to see what ideas people could come up with on those sorts of things, and again, what each community could learn from each other and how they could unite and that kind of thing. Especially in America, I think like it's a shame, I think, to see so many divided communities, considering like, say, the Ku Klux Klan, however you pronounce it, talk about like hating anyone who's not WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So to me, that should mean that non-WASPs, it would be cool to see non-WASPs, people who are not white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, supporting each other and uniting together because of that hatred and how America was run by WASPs historically, and arguably some people might argue they are still the most powerful group in America. So it'd be great to see minorities supporting each other. But my goals might be different to, say, a lot of African Americans like me. I have to mention I'm not that materialistic, but many African Americans might want to see their economies improved, and many talk about how they could get ahead by being involved in business and things like learning about business and investing and not wasting money but saving it, or things like that. So I'd love to read about and hear about different opinions on that, like how can stereotypes be changed, how can African Americans be empowered in those sorts of fields. Number 9, I would love to support African American farmers. I'd love to have, like, I think there already is like an African, there is a Black Farmers Fund, but I'd love to see like Black farmers around the world sort of unite together, network together, support each other, and see what they can achieve together, and how Black farmers around the world, including in America, of course, and Africa, and again, all around the world, could be supported. And number 10, also supporting young people. Again, on Black Exodus, the channel I mentioned earlier, there's a great video, or there's at least one, if not two videos, or probably a few videos on, I've only seen one, I think, but on young black entrepreneurs. So it'd be cool to see how many could be supported. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think, and hopefully it won't be Josh. Anyway, out, picks it up.